Hi, welcome to Kebas. So today I will talk about having a roommate in Sweden. Of course, as a new person coming into Sweden, we do not have your registration at Boplats. Boplats is a housing agency and let you get your own apartment 3 or 4 or 5 years later down the road if you have a good employment history, if you have a good credit, and if you have registered with them for all the years that you have been in Sweden. If you do not have that, you might most likely have a roommate. First of all, as someone coming in from a foreign country into Sweden, it is so difficult to find someone who is willing to rent their room or to be a roommate with you, just because they don't know you. You know, you're still new and they do not have any reference to go to determine your character. So what are some of the things you should look at when you're looking for a roommate? The first one is ensure that your roommate is a clean person. If you go to the shower and you find hair, on the drain or on the shower drains, or if the sink is not cleaned properly, or if the mirror has a little bit of toothpaste in it, it's not right. Sure, you have to make sure that as a person coming in to rent, you also clean yourself, and also ensure that your roommate or your landlord is such a person that maintains hygiene around the area. Still sticking to the hygiene, another aspect of that needs to be cleaned well, of course, is the kitchen. You can't leave plates in the sink, or every time you should clean the sink after doing the utensils, or you have to empty the dishwashers and put the utensils away every time. You cannot leave a plate and say, oh, I'm going to clean that later, because then it poses only a challenge for the next person. And you should also give the same responsibility to the landlord or the person you're renting from. They should also maintain a high sense of hygiene around the common areas, like the kitchen, of course, and the bathroom, as previously mentioned. Look out for payment history. For example, if you are renting from someone, ensure that you use either Swish or direct deposit through the bank to make sure that you can trace the payment, that you've done over the years, and that you don't get kicked out because of lack of rent payment, because then you have evidence to show that you've been paying your rent. Believe me, it happens. So make sure that you don't pay cash, and keep paper trail or a receipt that you can show someone later if you want to get kicked out just because they purport that you didn't pay your rent. The other thing you have to look out for is avoid a landlord or a neighbor who says, no, you don't have to cook here when you're living with me, because A, it's very expensive, or B, you cook very strong food since you come from out of the country. I'm not used to the kind of food you cook. You cook very strong food, and you shouldn't allow anyone to stifle your diet, because then, one, it will get you depressed, and two, it is unsustainable to buy food from the restaurants, even if you're new, coming into the country. Make sure that you stress that you will be cooking, because cooking is the most, of course, sustainable way than buying food, and also it's the healthiest way to live. The only thing you can do here is then you have to contribute on the utilities to make sure that you distribute the costs accordingly. Also, look out for people who do not want your friends to come over to visit you if you're renting from somewhere. Obviously, by the time you have your own friends, you have made them responsible. You make sure that they do not play loud music, or they do not yell when they come to visit, or they leave the place tidy, or you tidy up after them when they leave. So you cannot allow a landlord or a roommate to say you should not have friends over, just because it just doesn't work. You have to have a social life in one way or the other. And if such a landlord says disagrees with you, then it is better just to find another place to live, instead of having so much problems with them. The other thing to look out for is people who are violent, and avoid them. If your landlord is violent, maybe because they are abusing alcohol or any drugs, it gets you in so much problems. And See, the problems in Sweden can be like a kind of a domino effect. A case in point is, if you sleep late, maybe the next day you don't perform well at your workplace, maybe you get fired, and then you will have so many more problems down the road, just because you didn't have a good night's sleep, as your neighbor was yelling all night long because they are either aggressive or are abusing alcohol. So stay far away from people who are like this, and try to maintain a very good headspace when you're living with, when you're living with a roommate, or if you're sharing a place with somebody. Look out on Blockhead. Even if you've started renting, make sure that you do not stop looking out for the next places to rent from. Keep your eyes out for houses that are on the market 6 or 3 months down the road, because if you have a problem where you're currently living, you have to have a plan B where you can easily get out of there, like the wind. You don't waste time. If you have a problem today, get out, because if you don't get out, you're going to create a social kind of awkwardness, sharing a house with someone which you disagree with or you do not trust. You never know what they can do. Maybe they can mess with your food in the refrigerator, and you do not really want to delegate the most sensitive part of your life to just someone you're living with, just because you think, oh no, they're not going to do it. You have to always protect yourself at all time. So have another second place you can move to if you meet bad landlords. Have some houses down the road. And of course, I mentioned at the beginning, register with Boplatz on the first day you come. It is very important, because you never know how long you're going to live in Sweden. You might finish your studies, and then you may find a job, and then you will actually stay in the country, and therefore you will need your own house where you can maybe have your own parties and kids, and have your friends coming in at any time, and you can also come in and go at any time without any duress, which is actually very good. And finally, do not allow anyone to bully you, if you're new in Sweden, or if you're living with them, or if you're sharing a place with them. Do not allow that. You have a right just like anyone else who lives in Sweden. You have to always uphold your right. If you find that someone is trying to step on your toes, or trying to make your life difficult, or trying to make you feel inferior, you have to tell it out straight away. Do not, hey, this is not no time for turning the other cheek. You have to tell it to the person, sort it out right away while it's still hot. And if they try to threaten you, you can report them to the authorities. You have, like I said, you have rights just like anybody else. And those are some of the factors that I thought I should share with you in case you wanted to have a roommate in Sweden, and to make your life easier down the road. And subscribe, like the channel, and let's keep it going. See you in the next one. Bye.